Readers Entertainment Radio presents Booklights with your host, author Lisa Kessler. Booklights, where we're shining a light on good books.
Good morning, everyone. It's Monday. I was just thinking this is the first Monday since the time change that I felt like everything was happening at the right time. So I hope that anyone else out there who went through that time change is also feeling kind of getting into the normal swing of things, and I hope it's warming up wherever you are. And today I am so excited that we have Erica Ferencik. Actually, I should have asked you how to say that. I probably just butchered
Ferencik,
it. Is that how
like dead people.
Oh, Ferencik. Oh, yay. Okay.
Yeah.
That is a great thriller name.
Yeah, right?
So if you guys have never read Erica yet, she has some amazing books out that take place in the settings are just incredible. So you definitely need to go look her up. And if you haven't read her books yet, I'm going to introduce her with her bio here so you can get to know her. And then we're going to dig in because people who have been longtime listeners know that I'm kind of a Greenland geek. And this book takes place there. So I'm so excited. So I'm going to try not to geek out. And I will introduce you here to Erica Ferencik, considers her master's in creative writing from Boston University just beginning a literary education. Her 35 years of writing, novels, short stories, essays, ghostwriting, 10 years of stand-up and sketch comedy, as well as dozens of screenplays, and a brief filmmaking stint was her boots-on-the-ground training. Her work has appeared in Salon and the Boston Globe, as well as National Public Radio. She says she was raised in the wilds. Sorry, it's Monday, guys. In the wilds of upstate New York during the era when, rightly or wrongly, you could take off after school and explore and no one worried as long as you were home by dark. I remember those days. Now she lives in Metro Boston with her very tolerant husband and enormous Maine Coon cat. She's in love with her family and friends and startling beauty of the natural world and the wonders that lay half hidden in everyday life. And I did put a link to Erica's website right there on the Blog Talk site. So if you're listening live or if you're listening later, you can click that anytime and sign up for her newsletter and go check out all of her books and that kind of thing. And she's also on Twitter, so her handle for Twitter is on there as well. So I don't want to delay any further. Erica, are you there?
I am.
Thanks so much for being here today. I know, right? Now you sit there going, what?
I know, right? I did that?
Oh. Yeah, every time I go on a podcast and they read everything, I think, wait, I did that?
Yeah, I know. It's bizarre.
But I'm so glad that you're here today because your new book sounds fabulous. Do you want to tell everybody about Girl in Ice?
Yeah, sure. So Girl in Ice is the story of a linguist named Val, an American linguist, who is tasked to go to an extremely remote climate research center off the coast of Greenland, where a girl has been found in a glacier. She's thawed out alive, and she's speaking a language no one understands. 8 months before the novel, Val's twin brother Andy, who was a climate researcher up in this remote outpost, walks out 50 degrees below zero Arctic night and freezes to death. Now, he took his life, but actually Val is not so sure. But the story begins where Val gets an email from Wyatt, who was the only other researcher up there, who was Andy's mentor, telling her about this girl, saying that she's talking in a language none of us understand, and you're the linguist. You're the specialist in dead Nordic languages. Can you come up here and talk to the girl? And she's petrified. I mean, she has her own problems. I mean, she has a pretty severe anxiety disorder that makes her comfortable in only a few places. But in the emails, just a little clip of the girl speaking. So she clicks that, and then she hears this voice. It's full of trauma. It's full of terror. And but she doesn't understand a word this girl is saying. But the tone of this kid's voice is enough to have her jump, get out of her shell and make the journey to Greenland, to, not only figure out what happened to her brother really, but to try to understand this girl. So that's the basic premise of the book.
Sounds fantastic. And I didn't realize that I knew it was her brother, but I didn't realize it was her twin brother. Do they have that twin connection? I mean, do you think she knew that he was gone?
I don't know if that's a big part of the story. I know they're kind of twins that are quite opposite, actually. In terms of being in favor with father. I mean, Andy was the more charismatic one. He's the brave one. He was the one that went out on all these adventures, and she's the one who stayed home and stayed safe. And, their father was a climate researcher himself, and he was renowned in the scientific community.
Oh.
And he's in his 90s, and she goes to visit him dutifully, dutiful daughter, right? But she tells him about this email and about hearing the girl and about the invitation to go up there, and he says, you're going to go, you're going to find out what happened to Andy, or no. He says, or don't bother coming back to see me. So
wow,
there's that as well. So there's
some family dynamics too.
You got some family dynamics. Yeah. Gotta have those.
So I have to ask, because I was checking out your other books, and you have a book in a jungle, and what made you pick Greenland? Where did Greenland come into all this?
Well, so the idea for the story came. I live in the Northeast, and the story came. I was walking in the woods behind my house in the winter of 2017, and there was this pond, and it was completely frozen. And along the edge of the pond, there was 3 juvenile painted turtles, and they were frozen just mid-stroke. And they didn't look alive, but they didn't look dead either. So, I mean, their eyes were open. So I went home and I Googled, things that can freeze and thaw out alive. And it turns out there are some creatures that can do that. Some certain wood frogs, alligators, a microscopic creature called a tardigrade. Some plants can do it. Many plants can do it, actually. But in the animal world, the ones that can do it have a certain cryoprotein. This is a protein that protects the cells when they freeze from destroying the cell. We do not possess this cryoprotein, although we can freeze an embryo because it's only 120 cells. It's a little different. We have that technology. But in any case, in my mind came an image of a girl in a glacier, and I just saw her foot like she was running away. And from there, my task was like, who is this girl? What is she running from? What happened to her? And I love writing along the line of what's real and what isn't, so that the reader is almost guessing, saying, well, maybe that could happen, I love science and language. And I've always adored Arctic settings. I don't know why. I don't have a big explanation for it. I do. There is a scene in Frankenstein, actually, where, I don't know if you remember this, but he's disappearing into, it's at the end, and he's, beaten and bloodied and given up on mankind. And he's disappearing into this Arctic wilderness. It's at Mont Blanc, and his big blocky silhouette is just disappearing into this Arctic wilderness. And I guess that scene has never left me. It's haunted me, and just the feeling of that is still always something that I've wanted to capture somehow. So I just, go ahead, yeah.
Well, and when this idea came to you, and I love that you ran to Google, because I'm a writer too, and then when you see something strange, you can't help but make up a backstory for all these, and then you learn about cryoproteins. It's like suddenly in an hour you're a scientist. But
right, exactly.
But what was it? Just the cold that made you decide to set it in Greenland, and then you actually went there, didn't you?
I did. I spent a month there, but I I wanted to. I'd always been fascinated by Greenland just because it just seemed like a place to me no one ever talked about, and why. You know, it's this massive piece of land. It's a third the size of Canada. You know, it's up in the. Not all of it is in the Arctic Circle, but most of it is in the Arctic Circle. And who lives there? You know, just a fascinating place. It was between Greenland and Antarctica, but I needed an indigenous population, which Antarctica does not have, as far as we know. And right. I also needed certain animals. And also the third reason is, you know, I was on deadline, and just to get to Antarctica was just so much more difficult. I mean, in terms of waiting, you know. Mm-hmm. Whereas Greenland, you know, wasn't a snap either, but I could do it, you know, given the time allowed for this book. So it was just, and then the more I thought about it, it's like, oh, that's the perfect place, because like people know a little, but it's still enough that it's mysterious, you know. Right. I mean, give it time.
I've been Right? Well, I've been obsessed with Greenland since fourth grade because the teacher pulled down the atlas in fourth grade. You know, they pulled down the giant map, and I see this giant island that says Greenland. And I said, "What's that?" And she said, "It's Greenland. No one goes there." And as soon as she said that, yes. Oh, and as soon as she said that, my obsession began. And I read, I have on Greenland. I can't let it go. And so someday I will put my feet in Greenland, even though I'm a San Diego native. And I know I'll be miserable. I'm such a weather wimp, but I can't stop thinking about it. I read books about it. I see, I once sent out a tweet on Twitter, is anyone from Greenland on Twitter? And it took 6 years, but someone from Greenland answered me. We talked back and forth on Twitter for days. It was amazing.
Wow. Well, if you do that now, you're going to get.
It feels like the last frontier.
It does feel like that. That's why you're obsessed with it?
I don't know. I am slightly woo-woo, so I wonder if, you know, in a past life, did I live there? Because it's anti-everything that I hate being cold, you know, but I have to go there.
Right.
So it's very weird. I feel like when I put my feet in Greenland, I will have some kind of epiphany of why this connection is there. But it's just it's cool. Very odd. So it's something about the desolation and the mystery that people just don't go there. I don't know if you saw Ben Stiller did The Secret Life of Walter Mitty, and part of it was filmed in Greenland, so I had to see it.
Okay. I didn't know that.
Yeah. They filmed part of it in Greenland, and the part in Greenland is very funny. Like, he goes in the bar, and it's a karaoke bar, and there's one person in there, and he's singing a breakup song, and he says, "Never cheat on your girlfriend when the population is 8." You know?
Right. Well, that makes sense. Totally.
Yeah, so it was funny, but I'm fascinated with it, and I love that you went there for a month. What kind of cool adventures did you go on there that ended up in the book?
That ended up in the book. Well, I do. First of all, Greenland, as you know, as if your readers don't know, it's the largest island in the world. It has the second largest ice cap to Antarctica. It's 1,500 miles. North to south, 700 miles east to west. And the ice cap itself, at its thickest, is 2 miles deep.
Wow.
And has been frozen for 3 million years. And another interesting thing is there are only 56,000 people live there. I mean, think about that. Think about the population of your town. I mean, my town was in Framingham. We have 77,000 people. So 56,000 people spread out over a land mass a third the size of Canada.
Wow.
Is remarkable, and most live in the capital of Nuuk, N-U-U-K, but so these tiny little villages, 250 people, 120 people along the coast, because no one lives on the ice cap, no one lives on that on the ice cap. There's no game, there's nothing.
Right.
And this is a hunting and subsistence culture, which is one thing to read about, but it's another to witness. That, to eat, you go hunt something. And it was fascinating. I mean, our guide was a hunter, and we learned about their quotas, now for narwhal, minke whale, walrus, polar bear.
Wow.
Let me just also say that I didn't go to Greenland. I never go to any of my research places. The first step for me, and I'm sure for you, is the story. What's the story?
Mhm.
I can't afford to just go places and think of a story.
Right. We're writers.
I mean?
We can't afford that.
I think I'll go to Greenland. Maybe something will occur to me. No. I had the story, and I actually had the first draft before I went, because I need to know who to interview, what to ask them, where to go, what to look for when I did the research, and it was overwhelmingly strange and, as you say, desolate, and just the scale of the ice and the mountains. I mean, it's this massive, ice cap surrounded by these black mountains that jut up out of the sea. I mean, the Vikings called it Greenland so that people wouldn't go to Iceland. They're trying to
right.
That's the lore anyway. But so we took helicopter trips to the ice cap. Everyone had a gun because there were polar bears, and they're very aggressive. And we took kayaks into these fjords, and we went into this fjord called the Iceberg Graveyard. And it was so cold because for whatever reason, the currents would wash in. When I say wash, it's very slow. These things are as big as cathedrals, massive, massive icebergs. And they're shaped in all these strange shapes, and they gather in this one inlet, well, many inlets, but especially the one we were in. And we were kayaking. You're not supposed to get close to them. We were hearing all the time explosions of calving bergs and glaciers in a far distant way. And so I asked our guide, like, what if, one of these massive things breaks right here? And he said, well, you should always be listening to hear. If one breaks, you need to turn your kayak immediately toward the sound, because a massive wave will be created and you'll breach, So
oh my God.
we were all like, okay, what are we gonna do?
That
Go home?
Terrifying.
It was just like, I'll shut up. It was like way to get us to shut up, And then we just listened, and it didn't happen. But there was another group that was going under this, massive ice arch, and it was so stupid because they can break at any time, and it's over.
Mm-hmm.
So,
right.
Yeah. So it was great. It was a terrific time.
That sounds a little intense.
I'd do it again. I didn't want to leave.
It was great.
I didn't want to leave.
So since you had the first draft of your book done, I know I once wrote a book with a firefighter hero, and I had written half the book before I finally found a fire captain to interview, and I'm like, oh, shoot, I had to make massive changes. But did you, after you went, were there parts of your book that you really needed to go in and change, or were you just amping up, the setting and all that kind of thing?
Well, unlike you, and that sounds unfortunate because I know how that feels.
Yeah.
Luckily,
it was miserable.
I know it sucks. It really sucks. But luckily, I didn't have that problem because I had read so much before, and mainly it was a validation of a lot of different things. But just to go there and, I mean, I didn't know the air was going to be like, it was so clean. You could just eat it. It was so clean and cold, and I
Mm-hmm.
felt high. I felt like the percentage of oxygen was just triple what I'm used to, and I'd never seen northern
Right.
lights before. And you read about them and you see pictures, but just to see them, they move so fast. I had no idea that. I thought they lingered, but it's seconds, less than seconds. They're on one side of the sky and then the other side of the sky.
Oh, wow.
And then flipping all over the place, and just the way icebergs behave, they sometimes they flip. Like they'll just turn, like one side, and these are as big as, they're just parking garages, right? And one side might just melt so much so that the weight shifts, and this massive thing, it just flips over.
Wow.
And it's very strange, creating these waves, that kind of massive waves. And I saw a lot of whales.
Do you feel like going there added like a whole new dimension to the book when you went back through it?
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. Just, the finer points of things, what people ate, how everything looked and tasted and felt and smelled, and this feeling of constantly having to be aware of your surroundings, which I learned that for the first time in the jungle when I spent a month in the Peruvian Amazon researching into the jungle. That was my biggest lesson. I spent a month with my Peruvian guide, and the first day there I'm chatting, and he says very nicely, he says, "Erica, shut up," because he's listening. And what is he listening to? He's listening to, like, maybe there's a troop of monkeys a half a mile away, and he knows exactly what kind they are, titi, woolly, whatever. He knows what kind they are, how fast they're coming toward us, everything. And he knows, he could, like, hear with his feet. He knew, for example, there's this kind of pig, it's called a white-lipped peccary, and they're these big dumb pigs, and they run in these herds, and they don't stop. They'll run you over. And one day we were in the jungle, and he said we need to find shelter like in minutes, because there was a big herd coming toward us, and they won't stop.
Right.
They'll just run us over. So we just had to find shelter. We found this enormous tree. It's called a lupuna tree. Tucked ourselves in the root system, and they ran past us. But the same thing in the Arctic. You're very alone, but you're not alone, because there are polar bears out there, and they're very, very quiet. They know how to move very quietly, and so
wow,
it was fun. It was a lot of fun.
So yeah, wow. So where is your next adventure? Are you already working on your next book?
I am. I can't talk too much about it
okay.
at this point. That's okay. No, but it's called The Intelligence, and it's about nature turning on us.
Oh, okay. That
sounds
exciting.
That's really all I can say at this point. So, but I highly recommend.
I wanted
Greenland.
Yes.
Yeah, go ahead.
I can't wait. Someday. Well, I was going to ask you, our listeners are always really interested in what your writing journey was, because it's so different for everyone. And yours sounds really incredible with movie making and comedy writing and going from stand-up comedy to Greenland. But can you tell everybody kind of what the journey was that got you to be a novelist?
Oh, sure. Sure. Well, I'm old, so here's the deal. Decades go by, you do stuff, right? I started in my 20s. I'm 63. In my 20s, actually, I was a fine artist. And then I woke up one day with no interest in being a fine artist anymore, a painter. And I wanted to be a writer. I'd always been writing. I wrote novels. They didn't sell. I did stand up for 10 years. It taught me a lot. It taught me discipline, how to be prolific, how to take rejection, all this stuff. Then I got sick of it, got into screenwriting. I wrote dozens of screenplays. I was director of development for a film company. Must have read 1,000 screenplays, but that taught me structure. went back to novel
Mm-hmm.
writing. I got my master's in creative writing. I wrote several more books that didn't go anywhere. And I'm much more a novelist than I am a screenwriter. I'm not collaborative at all, you know. I want to do it myself and have control. So my first novel was published in 2017 after 35 years of trying, and I don't want to tell people it's going to take 35 years.
Right.
But, you know, there is the lesson there. You know, you have to be persistent, but at the same time, you have to learn. You can't say, well, I'm going to do it the same way and expect a different result. We all know what that means, you know.
Right.
I mean, of course, be yourself. You're only ever going to be able to see through one set of eyes and have one history, but this is a very complex thing you're doing, writing a short story. There's so many things to keep in mind. You know, character, point of view, dialogue, tone, pacing. I mean, we're like surgeons. It's so difficult sometimes. And then at the same time, just relax and write, right? You know? Yeah, right. You know?
Settle in and just write those words.
Yeah, just write those words. But for me, you know, I've learned the hard way that I come up with an idea and I vet that idea. You know, it's not just any idea. It's an idea that survives weeks of thinking, and it has to be an idea that I'm passionate about for 4 years or so. Here I am talking to you. I thought of this in 2017. I have to sound passionate. I am passionate, but I have to, you know what I mean? It has to be something that jazzes me to talk about.
Plus, you're going to read it 50 million times before that ever comes out. That's it's like if I have to read this book one more time, I'm going to vomit.
Oh, I'm going to lose my breakfast totally. And it's so true. And people say, "Do you listen to your book?" No, I do not. It's like a child.
No, I've read it so many times.
Go away. Leave me alone. But then I write an outline, and that outline takes me 3 or 4 months. Because that's just how I do it. Then I'll write a first draft. That saves me countless drafts. I don't do draft after draft. I do read, you know. And when I say draft, my third draft is not that different from my first because I've done a detailed outline that I'm not the kind of person or writer that, you know, I need to, if something happens on page 284 and I need to plan it on page 25, I need to know that.
Right.
I need to know that. You know what I mean? You've written 40 novels.
Yeah, no, I totally get it. Yeah. So, well, before we run out of time, I wanted to find out from you how, when readers get excited about these books, do you communicate? I know you're on Twitter. Is there a way for readers to get in touch with you, sign up for your newsletter? How do you like to communicate with readers?
Oh, thank you. Well, when you go to my website, you'll see, the old pop-up, and you'll get, the cue to sign up for my newsletter. And once you do that, I think that the system records your email, but you can on my contact page. It's legit. You want to tell me, ask me something, go ahead and write to me there. Or if you're on Goodreads, go to my author page, ask me a question. I'm really good at getting back to people, so any question at all is fine.
Yeah,
that's really the best
and
thing.
Readers who are listening, you never know. Your good feedback to an author can sometimes inspire them to get back to the keyboard on a really hard day. So definitely reach out and let an author know that their words touched you.
Tell you.
Yeah, it does not.
Yeah, and it doesn't get easier. Yeah, I had some fantasy it would, but no.
Yeah, no. But thanks so much for being here, Erica. I could talk to you all day, but everybody go out and grab Girl in Ice right now. It has Greenland in it.
That's Greenland. What else do you want?
Right? What more could you ask for? A girl frozen in Greenland. But Thanks so much for being here, Erica. It was great chatting with you.
Okay. Take care.
Bye-bye.
Bye.
Thanks for joining us on Booklights. Be sure to connect with us at www.readersentertainment.com for articles, blogs, videos, and podcasts that matter to readers.